Looks like we're going to start with one of the questions from Wayne. Okay, yeah, this was posted in the free Facebook group, and it's a great question. So thank you for this, Wayne. He says, in light of what has happened to business confidence due to the pandemic, what would you do differently in your agency business once the economy starts back up and consumer confidence goes back to normal? This can almost be viewed as a sort of reset. To clarify, maybe it's not buyers' confidence in agencies per se, but buyers' confidence in themselves and their ability to make good buying decisions. And I think that's a great question. I know something that I've thought a lot about recently over the past month or so is how to how I'm going to do that, how I'm going to start prospecting again for, in my case, tree service contractors. Once this, although there's a lot of tree service contractors still working right now, and let me explain what I'm about to say. One of the things I want to do is reduce my rates, at least initially. So perhaps, and the reason I say that is because a lot of business owners are a bit gun shy right now, or hesitant to spend money, at least from business owners that I've talked to, because they're hurting for money now. Their revenue has either completely disappeared or significantly dropped. And so when the economy gets back to normal, which it's going to be quite some time before we ever get back to fully normal. But when it starts to open back up and business transactions start to pick up and volume picks up and everything else, I think at least my opinion is that people are going to be a lot more hesitant to spend money, or if they do, they're going to want, some sort of assurances and that kind of stuff. Now, again, this is speculation, my assumption of what's going to happen. So for me personally, one of the things that I've been doing for the last about 6 weeks, I started on it about 6 weeks ago, but I'm actually talking about this in the mastermind for the last several mastermind webinars that I've hosted, that I'm trying to systematize my much of the complex work that I have always done myself, so that I can outsource that or delegate that to somebody that's paid $4 or $5 an hour versus my own time. So in other words, whenever I take on a new client, I've always done the onboarding and most of the setup myself. So because of that, I charge a very high setup rate or setup fee for new clients, typically in the neighborhood of $3,000 on the front end, and then anywhere between $1,000 to $1,500 a month for like tree service contractors, for example. But that's the reason I've based my setup fee, is because I know how much work I put into the actual setup, setting up a new website or restructuring an existing site, optimizing GMB, setting up all the entity assets, the SEO shield, essentially, syndication network, all that stuff, getting the content marketing schedule or plan developed for my blogger. I do all of that myself, or have been throughout my entire career. And so I charge a lot for that because it takes me a lot of time to do all that setup work. And the reason I've never delegated that before was because it is so complex, the amount of work that goes into all the setup that I do, that I've never wanted to take the time to develop processes for all of that. Well, because of the 2X your agency training, the double your agency training, I talk about setting up systems, and I have for much of my business, but that portion of it, the onboarding and the setup for new clients, I've always done myself. And so I always charged accordingly because it's my time that I'm investing into it, and it gets done well and it works for the client. Like, it produces results. But again, it's a lot of my time. And so I want to be compensated for that. And so I charge that sort of a fee. So one of the things that I've been striving to do, and again, I was prompted to do this because of the 2X your agency training, was I wanted to systematize even that. I talk about it in the training, guys, and I got this from Adam, and it's been ingrained into my head now. But automate, delegate, or eliminate, right? So if I can't automate the setup, I want to delegate it or eliminate it entirely. In this case, I want to learn how, I want to delegate it. So I've been working for the last month, really started about 6 weeks ago, but for the last month, I've been working on trying to systematize my onboarding and setup processes. And it's an enormous amount of work. In fact, when I first learned how to develop standard operating procedures, or SOPs, that the first time I learned, the first thing that I systematized was building syndication networks that later became Syndication Academy. So, and it took me 3 months to develop those processes. now I'm better at developing processes, but this is an enormous amount of work as well. And so I've spent a month and more, anywhere between 10 to 15 hours a week for the last month developing these processes. And the reason I'm doing that is so that I can remove myself from that process and I can delegate that to a virtual assistant that I pay in the Philippines, for example, for $5 an hour, good wage. So now I can take an onboarding fee that I would, or a setup fee that I would typically charge roughly $3,000 for, and I may be able to reduce that in half and still produce a really good return or revenue for my agency. But at the same time, I'm only paying, you know, a fraction of that out to have it done. And I have all of my time still. Does that make sense? So I can actually, and not only that, but because I have SOPs, I can also bring on more people to delegate to, so I can increase volume. In other words, I can take on more clients because it's not a finite amount of time that I have to invest into setup and onboarding, because I can just bring on more personnel to delegate additional work to, because the SOPs, the standard operating procedures, are there. So for me, I've been striving to do that so that I can reduce my onboarding rate or my setup fee, number one. Number two, I probably am going to be reducing my retainer, my monthly retainer fee as well. And I mentioned this in the Facebook group as my comment. There's a couple things I've been kicking around. One would be bring them on at a reduced initial rate, but get a pay, like a results-based pay increase or retainer increase based upon the type of results that I can, that I know that I'll be able to produce for them. So for example, it might be the first 3 months, or once we heard, first 3 months are at a certain rate, because that's typically about how long it takes for me to get significant results anyways, or some sort of threshold or milestone that gets hit, number of leads generated, traffic, number of traffic, whatever, traffic level or whatever. And then the rates go up from there. Or something that I just took on for the case study that I'm conducting in the mastermind, for my mastermind webinars. I recently brought on a new tree service contractor who's buying leads from me on a pay per lead basis at a discounted rate from my typical rates. But it's interesting because he's not paying me a monthly retainer. He's just paying me for leads, but I'm actually working on building his assets up. Well, his brand through my assets, but I'm building his brand up. And it's working really well. In fact, I'm turning really good revenue over from this new tree service contractor right now because of that. Just so you guys understand what I'm saying, meaning I'm building up his brand through my assets, through the domain and everything else that I purchased for his company, right? So in other words, I own the asset with his branding on it, and I'm building it up, and he's paying for the leads that are coming in on a pay per lead basis. So there's that, or there's, another type of arrangement could be a revenue share, something like that, so that they understand that you're going to, your revenue is tied to their success. Does that make sense? So, and that's kind of how I'm going to be approaching it. First, being able to reduce my rates initially by removing myself from the process entirely, which will make my agency more efficient and more scalable to begin with. But then also, giving them some sort of incentive to sign up with me so that I can start to show results, and then increase my monthly retainer as a result of, either certain milestones that are hit or a certain time frame or whatever the arrangement is. Or like I said, the pay per lead model, where they're buying leads from me, even though I'm building their brand, instead of like going out and creating my own generic pseudo brands that are lead generation assets, or do some sort of revenue share model. That makes sense. So that's personally how I'm going to be handling it. And again, I'll be talking a lot about this in the mastermind. That's specifically why I'm trying to systematize my agency processes right now, so that, I can scale and I can share it with the rest of the mastermind members as well. So I'm anxious to hear what some of you guys are doing. Hernan?
Yeah, I really like that approach, Bradley, because kind of it takes the burden out of the business owner, right? When it comes to, paying you a monthly retainer for your services. And some of these guys might be coming out pretty beat up after this, this situation, this economy or whatever. Some of them might be right on top, but some of them might be coming up pretty beaten up. So I think that having some sort of either revenue share or success model embedded in your retainer, maybe charge a little bit less. But then you have some sort of either revenue share or profit share, or you know, in my case, I run ads, so it makes sense. It makes sense to have some sort of profit share after ad spend, and that makes sense because it helps business owners like understand that they can, you know, they can actually pay you while the business is going back to where it was before. So having some sort of success, and then it sets you up for success as well, because if you really hit a home run, then you will end up getting paid a lot more than just your retainer, right? Which is the whole point. So I really like that. I really like that idea of kind of, you know, making it like a no-brainer, taking out all of the risk from the table, and then it helps you getting creative with the way you're structuring your deals. And also, you know, I would definitely consider hiring somebody to do most of the grunt work while you are effectively focused on, you know, the high level stuff or the creative stuff, right? But then the rest you can systematize it, you can do processes and all of that. So I really agree with, I really like what you're doing there. So
Chris?
Yeah, on my end, I would probably spend a little bit time having a discussion. Usually it doesn't take longer than 30 minutes. And ask where the bottlenecks were. Like, for example, if it's just a physical store and they didn't have like an e-com store or something online set up, they could have made sales that way. So like in best case, I can refer them to somebody and get a cut out of that as well a little bit, and help them to get set up. So in case something else happens that is similar to that, or a second or third wave might happen. I hope it's not, but like, you never know. They are prepared, you know, and they don't have to shut down completely, but they can still get sales and stuff. The rest, I pretty much agree with what has been said already.
Marco?
This is really interesting. I mean, I really like this question. Like, how do you restore buyers' confidence in themselves? That's a difficult one, because you're talking about how do you get into that person's head and talk to them about their ability to make good buying decisions. All you can do is establish confidence and good rapport between you and the client. I mean, that's what'll take care of this. Having that confidence in you that you can produce the results that you say you're going to get. Guy's going to drop a bundle on you, whether it's 500, it's a bundle to a lot of people, or 50,000, that's a bundle to other people. It's all relative. That ton of money, that bundle of money is relative to the person that's spending the money. If you can show that person that they can have confidence in you because you're going to produce results, either you've gotten results before and you can just show it, you can just go in. I talked to a prominent attorney last week with a couple other guys that I'm working on a project, and I talked to a guy who's dropping a bunch of money. We're talking millions of dollars in Google Ads, and wants to turn his focus elsewhere. And so what I'm going to charge these two people, this attorney and this guy who's doing the Google Ads and wants to go after the niche another way, is well, you're going to have to pay me. Like it doesn't matter at this point if it's a local client who's having a hard time because he hasn't done a tree service job, let's say in 4, 5, 6 months. I understand that. The way that I'm doing is I'm already dropping prices. For example, I have a couple of attorneys I'm already helping whose call volume dropped. And so I did drop the fee while this goes on. As soon as it opens up, I know it's going to be a train wreck. People are going to go crazy. Accidents are going to start to happen again. Calls are going to come back. And so the fees go back up. And they go back up not only to where they formerly were, but they will also increase by a percentage to make up for the break that I gave them, because they're gonna make again a bundle of money. Same thing with the new attorney that I'm taking on. We might bring him in at a reduced fee initially, but then as things they gain traction and people, I hate to say it, but people start having massive accidents again. It's a bunch of money. And so this is all, to me, right? The way that I'm looking at this, it's whether you can instill that confidence in your ability to produce the results that these people are going to need moving forward. And that's the conversation that you need to have with that person, whether it's a phone call, whether it's that one-on-one once this thing clears up, and letting that person know that I'm the person that can get you the results that you want. I mean, all of us have had that conversation with a client. Yeah, I know that you've been screwed by other SEO agencies. I'm not that SEO agency. Here, call these people. They can vouch for me. Or you came to me because someone referred you to me because I got them results. So you already know. There's a pre-confidence, let's call it, already established to some extent. Now you can either screw that up or work with it and close the deal. How you close that deal? Well, Bradley, Hernan, and Chris have given you guys some really good ideas. I don't generally take local clients at that price, but if that's what it took, if it took bringing somebody in at a reduced rate, and then as volume increases, your monthly fee is totally tied to that percentage increase, then I'm totally for that. It's not the way that I'm doing, because I don't really do it at that hyper local level. I don't focus on that, but I can totally see your point of view and how you would do it. And at the same time, I can also see it just totally going in there and convincing that person that you're the person to be trusted with their livelihood, because that's what it is.
Adam, your last one.
Yeah, one more thing. Prices will go up anyways. Like, just seeing about like all the money that has been given out and like the break that businesses said. So you can definitely expect that, like, after things are working again, that there will be a price increase.
Yeah.
Because the purchasing power is less on the money.
So Wayne, yeah, I agree. Good question. And I'm going to talk more about the consulting agency side of things, not the buyer confidence side directly. For that, I think, I'm not an economist, maybe an armchair one. And all I can say is, I know myself, and I know people have different sides or different feelings about this. My gut feeling is, I can only speak to what I'm going to do. And I know I'm not going to be spending more money than usual in the near future, right? To me, that goes against what I believe is safe and good for me and my loved ones. And I think a lot of people think that, but again, that's just me. That's not Adam's verified theory or anything. So what I'll do is lean back. I think something that we talked a lot about at POFU Live, Hernan's talked about it a lot, Bradley has, but branding yourself more than ever. That's something I'm focusing on. And I got this started slowly over the last few months. And now it's really built up steam in the sense that like it's something I'm focusing more on. And I see that there's several reasons why for myself. It's one, you're helping yourself while at the same time you get to help others. And you can do this in any niche, any industry, at any level. I don't do local generally, but I mean, of course you can help others locally, right? If you're doing local marketing, you could be doing local marketing meetups on Zoom. You could be helping the local builders as they begin, needing to start prospecting again if they've been on restrictions. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff you can do. I'm not going to beat a dead horse there. Obviously, videos right now are really important. And again, if you can, once things are safe again, in person or doing Zoom calls. And I also look at this as a good time to find out what you and me really like doing. If you enjoy teaching others about it, maybe that's something you could move more into. And like who you really like, start building up that prospecting engine, even if it's already in place, just kind of, streamlining it, doing whatever you can and looking at what you really want to focus on moving forward. So that's something that I'm taking very seriously, and I want to get that going, because that it can be at times, it feels like a heavy flywheel to get moving. But once you start that moving, you just keep doing a little bit from time to time consistently, and that really starts paying off. Secondly, Bradley talked about this, so did Hernan, but streamlining your operations. And like Bradley said, just once per week, I really do, I think everyone should do this. Once per week, ask yourself what you can automate, delegate, or delete. Just set a time and do it. Write it down on a scrap of paper. This doesn't have to be rocket science, right? But you've got to set that time aside. And if it works, like I think it will, then keep doing it. If not, this isn't some set in stone rule. If it's not working for you, don't do it. But, for 99% of the people out there, I guarantee you this is going to be a potential game changer for you. And then last but not least, I love this quote. I did an interview with a guy named Matt Barnett. He's a founder of Bonjoro, which is an app that Bradley introduced me to. And he said, automate the process, not the relationship. And I think we're seeing that even more now that people are having to work remotely. Automating as much of the process as you can, but then really building those relationships as business owners, as consultants, as agency owners. That's been important. And I mean, Bonjoro is a tool, and if there's another tool, I'll use it. But I just use this as the example. That has been a game changer for me, down to like the tactical level. Like it's fun because it helps build the relationship. But a great example is earlier this morning, I had approved a call. And when that happens, I get the Bonjoro notification. It pops up, hey, Adam, send a video to so-and-so. I recorded it. I had seen what they said. I approved their message, and I was like, hey, it's Adam. I'm looking forward to talking tomorrow. It's really me. If you got any other background information on your project, let me know. I'd really like to make the most of our call. It sounds like you got something interesting here. And they had given me a real short description like most people do when they fill out forms. I send that off. I get back a 4-page email from this guy, and he's got just this really interesting project. All of the juicy details. He told me what he liked about his vendors. He told me what he fucking hated about his vendors. He's telling me, just under the hood, all the details. And, all that took me was literally 20 seconds. So I think that, again, going back to that, automating the process, not the relationship. So I can put that 20 seconds in, it's real. And the rest of it's taken care of for me, which nobody cares about anyways. Nobody cares that there's a program that sent the email. They just care that I cared enough to, say hi and ask them what's really going on. So
you mean to tell me that video emails work to wow your prospects and ultimately your clients as well?
It's true. And it has a very high engagement rate, weirdly enough.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you guys, that's how I primarily communicate with all of my clients. I mean, I do jump on the phone with them occasionally, and we chat back and forth via email, but almost every month I'm sending a video email to my clients, just going over their monthly reports. And again, it's the same product we sell, guys. It's the same method. We practice what we preach. Video lead gen system. That's how I do all my prospecting, and it works really well. And that starts the whole, it builds rapport without us even conversing, right? Does that make sense? A video email, you can literally build rapport with a prospect before you've ever communicated with them in real time. And so again, I also use video emails for communicating with prospects after, or clients once they become clients, and they love it. I've gotten so many comments over the years now from clients that say that they love that because they know what's going on at all times. And it's like Adam said, I'm building that relationship, even if we're not literally talking back and forth, it's still building that rapport because it's like they get to know me and all that other kind of stuff. It works really well. And the other part of that is that, I talk about this in 2X Your Agency. What Adam just said is when you're also prospecting, you got to think about it, guys. So much of the sales training out there is sales training about how to sell a product or a service. And it's almost like a one and done. That's why there's hard closing techniques that people try to teach you in sales programs and all this other shit. And I found it usually pushes people away. For the type of services that we sell as digital marketers, we're selling a relationship, not a product or a service. Yes, there's a product or a service attached to the relationship, but the thing is we're going to be intimately involved with their business, and we have to develop that relationship and that rapport with the business owner or our point of contact at the business in order for us to create that relationship that's going to be long lasting, if that makes sense, because we're going to be communicating with them on a regular basis, and we are tied to the success of their business. It's really important to develop that relationship strong up front, that strong rapport up front, and also to maintain that relationship. So I totally agree with what Adam just said. All right, so we can jump on the next question. That was a fantastic question, Wayne. Thank you for that.